Welcome to the NYU Game Center Lecture Series. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for waiting patiently. We really appreciate it. Sorry for the delay. And I'd like to also thank our sponsors, Eline, Smashworks, Arcadium, for helping make the lecture series possible. And without further ado, we're going to get on with the show. It's a privilege to have tonight's guest. I'm going to rattle off the name of a few games: Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, Psychonauts, Brütal Legend, Monkey Island, Day of the Tentacle. That's not a bad list of games right there. It's pretty impressive work. Our guest tonight is a fantastic game designer and someone who has done amazing work over the years. In 2000, he started his own company, Double Fine, and they just recently did a Kickstarter that broke a few records. I think it was the fastest to 1 billion, something like that. So that's kind of amazing. And Tim is, I think, without question, the sort of undisputed master of humor.
Undisputed master
of humor in games. But he's actually much more than that. The games that he's worked on over the years have been have had a huge amount of variety, and he's done all kinds of different games. They are consistently sophisticated and stylish and smart and original, and they often experiment with new kinds of gameplay. And I think just looking at the crowd that turned out tonight is certainly an example of how much he has been a real inspiration to a lot of people. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce tonight's guest, Tim Schafer. So.
Hello. I feel like I should sit down there with you, but no.
You can sit or stand. So the format for tonight's talk is we're not going to do a typical lecture, and instead we're going to do a kind of a inside the gamers studio, and I'm going to talk to Tim and ask him some questions, and we're going to open it up and talk to you. But before that happens, Tim was kind enough to bring along something to kind of give us a unique treat, because as I think people probably know, Double Fine is famous for doing a lot of prototyping and iterative design through experimentation. They just recently had a kind of like week-long internal jam that produced a bunch of games that went on to be a bunch of commercial titles that they worked on. And Tim thought it would be cool if he brought along a working prototype of a game that has never before been seen by the public.
Never will again.
And maybe never will again. So this is something that he thought he would kind of share with us and give us a peek behind the curtain of the game design process at Double Fine. So we're gonna start off with that. So that's setting that up was one of the reasons that we asked you guys to wait outside. So it's technically challenging, but I'll throw it over to you, Tim.
Well, thank you for having me. It's very nice to be here at NYU, and thanks for waiting outside. We did. I was very honored to be here when I was first invited. I think Catherine, who I knew back from California, invited me to come out here, and of course I said, "No, are you crazy? I don't have time to do that kind of thing. That's just." But they said, "No, you don't have to give a big speech. I'm really bad with making big speeches and giving big speeches. So you can just come. We can talk to you, and we can hang out, and we can just chat, and it'll be fun." And then a couple weeks ago, I was thinking, what could I do to spice it up a little bit? And I thought I could bring a prototype for a game that, like we were saying, is not going to get out there, except for maybe all these cell phone cameras I see. But we do start a lot more games at Double Fine than we actually put out, because that's part of what we like to do. You have to kind of fight for these opportunities to be able to do R&D, just because it costs money, because people cost money not to purchase them, but to employ them. And so we do this thing called Amnesia Fortnight, which we call Amnesia because we forget what we're working on, and then we for 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks, it's very important. So we split our whole company into 4 groups, and then each group has to make a game in 2 weeks. And it was in the middle of Brütal Legend we did this, and it was a lot of fun. And we made a bunch of games, and 2 of them, Once Upon a Monster and Iron Brigade, came out of that first little game jam that we had. And then we did it again after Brütal Legend, and the games Costume Quest and Stacking came out of that run. And so we do have a lot of prototypes lying around that for one reason or another were either too experimental or some didn't work out, or they were cool, but we're just like, what do we do next with that thing? It's like, you guys probably, wait, how many of you are game design students? Any game design students? Okay, how many people are in the game design industry? Anybody in there? Okay. How many people backed our Kickstarter? Oh, wow. Yeah. Raise your hand if you didn't back our Kickstarter. Get the hell out of here. No, I'm just kidding. I know you just barely made it. I mean, there's a deadline. It was really...
Yeah, I didn't hear about it.
Yeah. So, what was I talking about? So anyway.
Amnesia.
Amnesia. That's a funny joke I didn't intend to make. So this demo that I'll show you, and then we can talk about anything you guys want to talk about, Kickstarter or anything. There's Kickstarter Cindy sitting right over there. Woo, Kickstarter, it's time for Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one would have trusted me with their money directly, I have a feeling. So it's awesome that we had that. But this thing that I'm going to show you is a really weird thing around our office because it did not come from Amnesia Fortnight. It came from a really weird opportunity that came our way. And we did a prototype for a publisher. It was like an assignment. There are many ways that games can come about. In the early days of Double Fine, it would just be like, I had an idea. I'm like, I want to do this game about psychic kids or heavy metal. Let's do it, everybody. And then we started this Amnesia Fortnight process, and other people got to come up with ideas. And then we prototyped them in that group, and then we'd spin it out and do more work on it, and then pitch it to a publisher and hope to get it published. And then about a year ago, a publisher came to us with an idea, like not an idea for the game, but just like a type of game that they're interested in trying out. And like I usually said, that's crazy, that's nuts. We shouldn't do that. But we thought about it some more, and we're like, well, maybe we could try something like that. So here's the story, and I think most of this is okay for me to tell. I will leave a lot of names out to protect the innocent. There's this game company that a friend of mine runs. No, this is at Double Fine. Last year, around the time after Heavy Rain came out. Have you guys played Heavy Rain? Has anyone played Heavy Rain? A lot of people were very excited about interactive narrative and branching storylines and all sorts of stuff. And people were like, because that's a very high production value game that did some interesting things with being able to control the story. And because we do a lot of story-based games at Double Fine, a large entity came to our office. That sounds weird. Anyway. And said, have you guys ever thought about doing something like that? And immediately, I never think of doing a game like Heavy Rain because it just looks really hard, and I like to do easier things than that, because you play the game, and if you climb the ladder at the right time, you get on the roof, and if you don't, you die, and the characters can die in it, and then you have to make all these expensive cutscenes that no one's going to see unless they play the game 50 times and or watch them on YouTube like I did. But I started thinking about, the idea of a story that can change based on player interaction. I have been doing a lot of stuff with that. So yeah, we'll try something. And I was thinking about new interfaces, and maybe there's something interesting we can do with adventure games, because we were always trying to think if there's a way to do what we used to do back in the 90s at LucasArts. We made adventure games. Maybe there's a way to do kind of a new style of adventure game, and maybe so we don't look just like Heavy Rain, we could use some of the new control systems like Kinect, because we were doing Once Upon a Monster and Happy Action Theater at the time, starting out with those, and we were really excited about trying new things with Kinect. And I was like, what if you could do some new kind of thing with your hands? And this is me demoing a Kinect game, and tell a story with you interacting with it that way. And we thought, at first we're like, well, could you do people started immediately thinking of using your hand to control a cursor and do a game like Myst, but that's on using Kinect. We could do that. And we were like, would that be interesting? I don't know if that would be interesting or not. And I said, maybe if it was set it was a high school romantic comedy, you could do that. And they didn't like that idea at all. They said, no, that's a little bit too crazy, which I still think would be great. There are not enough high school romantic comedy games done except for on the iPhone, apparently. So we had an idea. that harkened back to a really old idea. Well, first, one of our programmers suggested, when we were talking about branching narrative, one of the interesting things about it is, at least in Heavy Rain, you kind of jump around between different characters a lot, and we're like, maybe you could focus on the character you're most interested in and take a branch that followed that person, or take a branch that followed this other person based on what your playing style or what character you like the most, which sounds even more expensive to me. I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna make it. So anyway, but it's a prototype, right? It's practically free. So one of our programmers, Pete, he said, what if you were not any particular character, but you were just like a cursed artifact of some kind, like the ring from Lord of the Rings, or the Ark of the Covenant from Raiders. Like, you're just this cursed artifact on a ship, and you were just screwing with everybody on the ship. And I immediately liked that, because that just sounded sadistic and cruel, and just all sorts of fun things you could do with all the characters. And it made me think of an old idea that we used to talk about in the really early days of LucasArts, and we were still at the ranch, and working with Ron Gilbert and Dave Grossman, we were talking about adventure games and the verbs at the bottom. There used to be a lot, like Maniac Mansion had a ton of verbs at the bottom of the screen. And we were always like simplifying them, but feeling guilty for simplifying it. We're like, are we dumbing this down? And we take out another verb, and every game, like one more would disappear. And we're like, there's just gonna be like an interact button, which is pretty much what games have now, just like interact. And that's the way it is. You can still do a lot of stuff with one button, as we all like. I won't name any games. Anyway. Did you just shout out a game? What was that? Anyway, this idea we had back then, we were like, what verbs are the right verb? What are the only 8 verbs you need to get through an adventure? It was a weird question, and it just never felt satisfying. And I was like, what if you just, instead of at the bottom of the screen, they weren't verbs, they were just emotions, and the buttons were just like love, hate, fear, and all these crazy things. And then you could still click on objects. Instead of saying pick up the water, you would just say, make them like the water, and like click on it again. Make them like the water a lot, and the character would be like looking at it, and then as you click like water, you're like, oh, it's a really nice looking glass of water. And then you just got it to a certain point, like, I gotta have that. And they would pick it up, and then you could use these interesting combinations of like making them like the water, but also totally afraid of the water. So like just crazy matrix of emotions could just make the characters crumple to the floor and cry, because they're just like so many feelings they had about all these different objects. So it's like, let's do that, because we never could we could never pursue that, because it just sounded too crazy. But this is the prototype. It's all about being crazy. So let's try that. So we are still talking about the connect and these branching storylines. And I wonder if I'm ready. Is that everything you need to know before you? Yeah, so we thought about this example, like, the cursed artifact thing was based on a ship. And the idea was that someone had stolen this artifact from a tomb and was taking it back home, and the artifact is going to screw with everybody to make the ship crash or make it turn around and go back home and bring the artifact back to where it belonged. That was kind of the story. And so we're like, how would that be interesting? Well, I guess whoever's holding the artifact, you can control their emotions, and you can control how they felt about other things in the room. Maybe that'll work. And so what if 2 guys were locked in the brig of the ship, and there was like a shiv on the ground, and we could like control whoever was holding the artifact? And so I'm going to show you now the really early prototype, and it features Pizza Box Man, which is this character that this Scott Campbell and Nathan from Double Fine back there. You remember Pizza Box Man? Pizza Box Man is like this just stack of pizza boxes. Basically, it's like the generic character we use for everything. So I had to go and demo it over there, and don't start it yet. So can you still see me over here? Yeah. Let me get behind a post, because we had to have the Connect over here close to the dev kit, which is over there. No one's tripped on any cords getting in here. Okay.
Yeah, let's bring the lights down.
Scott Campbell, you operating it? Good? Okay, early prototype. The code name of this project is Specs for absolutely no reason at all. All the Double Fine code names are based on bars in Chinatown, and this is a bar in North Beach. Okay, ignore all the warnings. Specs prototype. Here's the big test to see if this works. So these are the instructions for how to play this game. And this is just a really, did I mention there's no voice or, okay, you understand. You'll still understand how crappy this is once you see it going. The left hand is the hand of hate, and the right hand is the hand of love, right? There's only 2 emotions in this whole thing. So it's picking, oh my God, it worked. So here's Pizza Box Man. Now he's in the brig. There's an old convict on the right, and there is a shiv in the middle of the room, there's a guard, and there's a young convict over there.
If you see your head, just squat down a little bit and try and get off screen.
So here's the left hand of hate, and here's the right hand of love. So if I make him like, oh, how does he feel about that convict over there? I can make him love it. And this one, you just hold the cursor, and he slowly turns blue. And you can see the guy starts to say things like, Well, it's really all I have. I should make the most of our time together. I didn't mean for that to sound dirty, by the way. And so he goes, you remind me of my son. Actually, he's the reason I'm in here. But hold on. The guy's like, you don't even know me, old man. And it does not go well for the old convict. And they start to fight. So, and there's a rat involved, which I'll explain later. So I'm holding the amulet. At this point, it was an amulet that he was holding that makes him curse. So you can actually, let's see, I can make him maybe pick up the shiv. I love that shiv. He's talking to the guy. Now, as it turns blue, he's really liking it. I love the ship is splintering apart. I think I'm going to go pick that up. So he picks it up. And then maybe I can still make him like this young convict over there. And he still doesn't know what to do with it because he doesn't know how he feels. He's pretty neutral on the other convict. So wait, it restarted. I think I followed that path a little bit too far. So let's make him pick up the shiv. He's asking me about the amulet I picked up because everybody wants the amulet. It's like the ring in the Lord of the Rings. Everybody's trying to get it from you. So I'm going to pick this thing up. Get it. It's nice and blue. You got it? Yeah, okay. Now I'm going to make him, I'm sure that nothing bad will happen if I make him. Hate. Use your hate. Use your hate. Uh-oh. What are you going to do? Let's go! He stabs him. Oh, it's terrible. What the hell? And then the guard comes over, and there's... If you don't do anything, the rat takes your amulet away, and it's called the rat path, and the rat thing goes to another part of the ship, but that's not in here. So I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to try and make him just love that shiv. I don't know. I haven't tried it where he hates the shiv yet, but I'll make him, while he's thinking about loving that thing, I'll make him love that guy. You see, I can keep on loving you. Wait, no, put the hand down. Nope. What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? You going to hurt me? I might be able to use him. You can tell he's old because he got a beard, and the other guy has hair. But he comes over, what are you going to do with this thing? Listen, this is our ticket out of here. Think you can distract the guard? So they actually hatches a plan together to, and now they're friends, and they're going to stab the guard together. It's going to be awesome. Okay. And then, so most of these end up with, oh, now he's faking a stomachache. It looks just like the animation for getting stabbed. Don't spend too much time on animation when you're doing your prototypes. And I think that's most of the different versions of this. So, Scott, do you know how to do the thing with the lid where you flip the button and then he restarts the dev kit? Open the tray and then close it again really fast. Secret of the dev kits, you guys. Do you see it down there? Yeah, you're browsing your pictures. What are you doing? Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay. So that was our first prototype. And the person that they're talking about, the publisher they're talking about, they really liked it. They're like, oh, this has a lot of possibility. And I was thinking, oh, God, this sounds so expensive to me. It's one thing to make things with Pizza Box Man, but to actually make Heavy Rain style, that's just crazy. That's nuts. But I was still really interested. And so we actually went and wrote a whole bunch of backstory for this ship. And we made characters of, we made these characters, there's going to be a wedding on the ship. And there was going to be a saboteur who was coming to stop the wedding because he loved the bride. But the bride, her mother was there and was having an affair with a groom. And the father of the bride was actually just trying to take everyone on the ship to a remote island to sacrifice to make himself immortal. So there were a lot of different plots going on the ship. And so we did the next rev where we actually made characters. Now, it's still going to look really rough, and there's not any animation, but there's some actual color. And the voice talent is just like me and people from the office, so talent is not really like a truthful word there. So we're going to start, and it's going to start. Okay, start it up, Scott. Oh, yeah. So it's just a prototype. Did I mention that? But you see, we have a lot more emotions now going on. We have love and hate and courage and fear and trust and distrust. Oh, so that's one of the most important things about the second rev of this is I was like, I hate these, moving your hands to use the cursor is just a dumb way to use Kinect, really. Like, you're just replacing a mouse and clicking, and it's not really using the depth sensing that the Kinect can do. And I was like, what if you could actually just act with your whole body in front of the screen, and the game would pick up on the emotions based on how you were posturing your body in front of it? Like, what if you could do these gestures here? You covered your eyes for fear, and it knows you're afraid, and you shake your fist at the game, and it knows you hate whatever you've targeted. So we decided to go for that method. So let me wave in here. And there's going to be a cutscene that has one of our effects artists as a voice talent. I think we knew the game was not going to happen by the time we made this logo. Oh, this is, okay.
I don't blame you for loving her. As rich and powerful as you were still a mortal man. When you took her from me, and I traveled the world to get her back, you knew that I would never let her go and that nothing could ever keep us apart. So I even understand why you killed me.
Dun, 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 dun.
It may seem morbid of her to have saved the knife that drained my blood, but I like to think that she sensed my spirit inside of it, bound as it was to the dagger for eternity. What mattered was that we were together. Forever.
Holy shit.
Or so I thought.
Also, steal music whenever you can.
I hadn't counted on the art dealers, curators, and other grave robbers who would tear us apart and pass me from hand to hand halfway around the world. Although I cannot control who is drawn to me next, I have found that the hearts of most men are easy to manipulate. And now, after 100 years on the bottom of the ocean, I've finally found a vessel to take me back to her. As long as nothing happens to it, then my love and I will soon be together again.
It's a bomb! I like to help out the movie by telling people what to feel during it, and... Oh, voice acting. More loft music. That was incredible. I'm incredible. Piloting my own personal sub through shark-infested waters to rescue the woman I love. I'm almost jealous of Ruth. I wish I could be rescued by someone as incredible as me. Hey, I bet one of those outfits would really help me blend in with the rank and file of the ship's crew. Okay, so...
I'm not sure which one.
In case you didn't get it from the opening cutscene...
Neutral about all of them.
The artifact is now a dagger that has this guy's soul.
When I wear an outfit, I want it to be something that I really love, you know?
And sorry, this is confusing to hear the game and me. But no, that's not a professional actor. That's actually me. So the artifact is the dagger.
Looks like a cheap gray market knockoff of my wetsuit. How sad.
Okay, so there is still a cursor in that you're selecting objects. And now because this guy Thurston, who's a rich guy who's in love with the bride, and he's come on the ship to break up the wedding. I don't mean to highlight his crotch, but that's where anyway. So Thurston is holding the artifact. He found it in that amazing cutscene at the bottom of the ocean, and he's holding it, and so you get to control his emotions. And so he's the holder, and you get to tag a target and then affect how he feels about the target. So you can make him hate the wetsuit by shaking. See, I'm shaking my fist. I don't know if you need any lights to see me. Maybe you can turn on the light on me. Is there a light on me that I can turn on, or will that ruin the demo? Because you got to see this acting over here, you guys. Yeah, see? I think I'm acting so well to connect my... Oh, wait, I'm already making him hate it? So I can say distrust. This is distrust. Cross arms. Oh, look, he starts to do it. I had to, squat down the step to make the... I think it's seeing me. Hey, Connect, are you seeing me? The weird thing about Kinect is they can see in the dark. Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure about those coveralls. They aren't exactly tailored to fit.
And I can cover my eyes and be like, I'm afraid of them.
Those coveralls look like they've been hanging there a while. I'll bet a whole family of spiders is nesting inside.
Yeah, I have spiders nesting inside of them. So now this is working. Now let's see if I can make him distrust. I'm going to distrust that wetsuit.
Something about that suit looks fishy to me. I bet it's really squeaky, and that would blow my cover.
And how's you're afraid of it?
Ugh, I bet whoever wore that wetsuit last probably peed in it.
There is some foul language in this. So now I'm going to make him, I can put my hand on my heart. I love it.
Those coveralls look adorably working class. I love them. There's no way Ruth will be able to resist me in this amazing thing. Of course, she did just accept another man's marriage proposal, but I'm sure that was just her father pressuring her. At least I think so. Only one way to find out. Go through this door and tell her how I feel. Just step through this door and I'll soon find out whether Ruth loves me at all. Just step through this door. Maybe I should just get back on the sub and... Oh, hello, Mr. Rat. How's it going? If you don't mind, I'm just going to hang out with you in here forever. Any ideas, Mr. Rat?
So now there's a door and the rat, and you can either get through this. He's
Well,
afraid
yeah,
of
I
the door.
did break up with her.
He's talking to the rat now. You can make him afraid of the rat, and he'll run through the door, or make
I
him
know. I was a
overcome
fool.
his fear of the door by giving him bravery. Or you can make him just hate the
Ew,
rat.
I hate rats. They're like pigeons with tails. Hey, rat, look at me. Look into my eyes. Fuck you. Just because it was an arranged marriage doesn't mean there wasn't love there.
Come on. Distrust.
Sure, I know that now.
Oh, fear. Afraid of the rat.
Hey, wait a second. Why aren't you afraid of me, Mr. Rat? Doesn't that mean you have rabies? I'm out of here. I can't get rabies again this year.
That was like the one
All right,
animation
let's
of the
see.
entire thing.
Long, dark, scary hallway on the left, and... Hey, what's that? Cruise quarters? I bet I can find a disguise or something in there. Just let me give this big doorknob a tug.
So we're doing some experimenting. There's a wedding poster of navigation, being able to choose doorways. And the
Open.
publisher was a little worried that just the emotional thing would run out of...
Said open up, you.
They didn't have faith in it, strangely enough. So we just
hard do I have
we
to
added
pull
some
on this
physical
thing?
gestures, like I can pull down this poster. Let's see, pull down the poster. Is that gonna work? Yeah.
I hate you, Rick! Oh, hey. I'll take what's behind curtain number 3, please.
Event. You
Ooh,
found
I
an
feel
event.
just like Bruce Willis in Die Hard. I'm gonna drop in on that wedding and be all like, yippee-ki-yay, mother... Hey, what's that sound?
It's an air vent, and you can totally ignore it if you
I
want.
can almost hear that
Or you
conversation
can make
through
him
that air
interested in
vent.
it as he's walking by saying he loves the air vent. Oh, did I miss it? I'm not recognize my...
Listen, Helga. What happened between you and me was great, but it's over.
But I thought you loved me.
Loved you? Please.
Was it just sex then? Was it just raw, animalistic, physical thing for you? Because I can live with that.
I've gotta go.
Well, if you find me so repulsive, then why are you trying so hard to be close to me?
Close to you? After this cruise is over, I don't want to ever see you again.
Then why are you marrying my daughter?
Dum, 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 dum. Anyway,
Get ready, people. John McClane is in the house. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ooh, nice. Bruce's dad has really upgraded his engine. Chrome headers, crossover exhaust, and what's that? Looks like, holy crap, that's a bomb. Oh man, what should I do? I can't move. Oh, I think I just pissed my pants. That's what wetsuits are for, right? Oh, what do I do?
so he's stuck here because he's afraid of the bomb.
What do I do? What do I do?
Luckily,
What do I
we can
do?
manipulate his emotions to make
can't even
him
move my feet.
Brave.
Come on, feet. Run
Brave.
over. Gotta pull myself together. That looks like a simple bomb.
Yeah, I made
bet
him
I can.
Oh, and I skipped the cutscene on accident. Oh, so you didn't see this girl walk down the stairs. Oh, Connect is fun to tune. So she came down and stopped me, and I have a little moment here to figure out what to do. I can make him dislike her. The hate gesture. And then she's holding it. Wait, what happened? Did I give him the gesture? I can't see her on this pole. Let's see. I can make her distrust him. Because I passed the amulet to her. Let's see if this is working. Come on. Just trust him. Yeah.
Better call security and have
It
that
worked.
guy locked up. Right after I defuse this bomb.
So the thing I skipped over is I passed the amulet to her, so now
That's a hot one.
I'm holding, controlling her emotions.
Whew. One less wire.
It should be one fewer wire. I didn't write that. Hate that. Okay. Here's a good wire. I think I'm running out of time. This might give one of the alternate endings.
That's a hot one.
Okay, come on, up. I'm blaming the stairway that I'm standing on. Oh, God. Hey, all endings are valid. All endings are valid.
Crap, that wire was live.
Ah. Whoops. Oh. Thurston's alive. See you later, sucker. Okay, so that was one ending, and all endings are equally valid. Have I mentioned that? So, our idea is that this would be played many, many times so that you could see all the different endings. There is a gallery now. See a wave? Or let's say many endings, I mean 5. So there's, I'll show you one more just for yucks. You can make those 2 friends, and they can do the bomb together. I'll try and get through that one if I can actually make all the moves correctly. And we knew you'd be playing this multiple times, so we put in
I don't
things to
blame you
make
for
it
loving her.
entertaining.
As rich and powerful as you were.
Skip. All right, so we
I'm
added
not sure which one. I'm kind
we
of
add new
feeling
things each time to help
neutral
make it.
about all of them.
Let's see. No, I can't. Okay, maybe I will.
When I wear an outfit, I want it to be something that I really love, you know?
Fear. You seeing me? Am I afraid? Come on, connect. I'm up here.
Oh, God, I've had nightmares where I'm standing in front of my whole school wearing that exact bikini.
Yeah. So, but maybe I make him. Oh wait, hate it. Hate it.
Why so skimpy? Don't they know that sometimes it's what you don't show that makes an outfit sexy?
Okay. Love it. Love it. Come on, love. Right here. Love. Hey, you connect. Look at me. There we go. Shouldn't have worn this dark shirt. There we go.
Ooh, in that bikini, people would be so busy averting their eyes, no one would get a good look at me. I love it.
Hot damn. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome.
There's no way Ruth will be able to resist me and this amazing thing.
So I can
Of course, she did just accept another man's... Any ideas, Mr. Rat?
I can make him. Can you load the rat?
Well, yeah, I did. Ew, I hate rats. They're like pigeons with... I'm so glad you're here, Ratty. You're really good company. I like you a lot. I bet you never run off and get engaged to another man, would you?
So I can make him
I
brave
don't know.
above the
Maybe
door.
I was rebelling against my parents. You're right, Mr. Rat. There's nothing behind that door except for the rest of my life.
Let's do it.
I am Thurston Robert Hackett. I have my own submarine. Make way! All right, let's see. Long, dark, scary hallway on the left, and... Hey, what's that? Cruise quarters? I'll bet I can find a disguise or something in there. Just let me give this big doorknob a tug.
It's not touch.
Come on!
I'm trying to sing around this post.
Open.
So you can make him. Originally, the plan was to make him like not afraid.
Said
of the
open
long,
up, you.
long dark hallway. But the other way is you can actually.
How
do
hard
the
do I have to
gesture
pull on this
turn
thing?
Turn this knob and get through here. But I'm going to fail at that, so he goes
I
down
think
the
a
long
big
dark
fancy
hallway.
yacht like this would take better care of their hardware.
They've got some exciting hardware possibilities down the
This
hall.
hallway's not so dark, really.
Okay.
It's kind of bright once your eyes adjust.
One of the things we were like,
really
how
should
do
get
you
used
do
to sneaking
navigation
around
in
the
this game? We
shadows since
thought
I'm
maybe we could try something on
undercover.
rails.
Which
where
reminds me, I might need a better disguise.
you could be interested in different doors.
Something to
as
help
you're
me
moving
blend
around,
in at this wedding.
or make me an interesting object as you're
Wow,
passing.
that is one amazing hat. The perfect thing to help me blend in at this formal wedding. Ooh, nice. Ruth's dad has really upgraded his engine. Chrome headers, crossover exhaust. Oh, what
I'm
do
gonna
I
try to do this
do?
correctly this time.
What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
On bone. So the
I
highlight-
can't even move my feet.
It's a little hard the second playthrough. That was a
Come
bug
on,
we would have
feet.
fixed if
Run
we
away.
actually would have made the game. Hey,
If only I could get past it. I could warn people.
what? Highlight.
But what if it blows
Is there a
up?
blue outline around that thing?
I wish I could trade in a little bit of my extra good looks for some guts.
Brave.
I've got to pull myself together. That looks like a simple bomb. I bet it can diffuse it or something. Now, let's see. Where's the diffuse button? I really don't like that ticking sound. Come on, Thurston. You put that stuff together from a kit. You can take apart a simple bomb.
Okay, freeze right there or I'll knock your brains through your mouth.
Whoa, hey, you scared the crap out of me. Come on and help me defuse this bomb.
Oh, come on. You don't expect me to believe that you didn't put that bomb there, do you?
I didn't. I swear. I just found this bomb here, honest.
Who are you anyway? I don't recognize you. You're not really part of the ship's crew.
Well, no, I did sneak on the ship, but I just found this bomb.
Oh, that's not suspicious. Hey, what is that weird glowing thing you're carrying? The detonator?
Come on, you've got to trust me. We don't have any time to waste.
Okay, so I got to make her trust him. And how do I do that? I make him give up the artifact by hating the artifact, so he doesn't like the artifact anymore.
Here, take this thing. See? It's not a detonator. Now will you help me defuse this bomb?
You still look shifty to me. I'm not sure what to think.
So now I can make her trust him. Arms up, trust. You're not so bad.
Okay, I'm gonna go with my gut here and give you the benefit of the doubt. You've got kind of a pitifully honest face. Plus, I think this bomb's not even real. Look, I can just pull out random wires and nothing happens.
Hey, hold on. What are you doing? You're gonna get us both killed.
And here's the situation
Please
where
stop that.
you're going to die if I don't make her afraid of the bomb.
Listen to me. I have an actual plan.
So,
You want to hear my plan?
Hey, wait a second. This is a real bomb.
Ah, she gets it finally. Now then, here is my incredible plan.
Hey, I believe you about the bomb, but that doesn't mean I like you or I want to hear your opinions.
Hey, I happen to be a
She doesn't like him, and
genius.
it's a problem. And I can
Oh,
make,
yeah?
make
Then
her
what's
like
the
him.
blue wire do?
Uh,
Okay, you know what? You're an idiot. I can do this myself.
Oh, wait. Okay, so she's going to do it herself. Uh-oh. I had trouble with this before.
Crap, that wire was live.
Uh-oh. Oh, I've stumbled into the same ending again. Sorry, mechanic, you're going to die again. Okay, so that's the demo of that, you guys. Thank you. So all of those different choices in there, you could take any of those paths and do the wrong emotion at the right time and end up with a totally different ending. And I better not stand close to the eardrum popping machine or the light coming out of that projector. It's okay, over here. So we finished that, and we thought that was kind of interesting. We had a lot of fun. I really liked writing for it just because I've always, writing a main character for a game when you're like Eddie Riggs or something, it's really hard to write for the main character because you really want people to like the main character, and writing someone likable is really hard. That's why villains are so fun, because they just say the jerkiest things ever. But here, you weren't any of these main characters, so I could make that guy be really stuck up and rich and stuff, and it was a lot more fun to write when you just didn't care if anybody liked anybody, because you're actually playing this knife. Well, you're playing the soul of a dead guy stuck in a knife, so. So that was really fun. I like that. But I still am just really daunted. Like, there was a lot of work to make just like 5 endings and no animation. Like, it was tons of work to just get that going. So we were like, oh man, I hope we don't have to make this game. But I mean, I liked it, and it could have been interesting. But then, luckily, that publisher just totally changed the direction of where they wanted to go. And they're like, we're just kidding about that prototype. Never mind. And so it was over. And so we're probably never going to make that game. So I thought, no one will ever see this except for like 15 people who were in the company and watched it when we demoed it. So I wanted to bring it here today. Just I don't know. I know it's really rough and stuff, but I thought at least someone will see it. So now you guys have actually seen it to prove that it exists and can tell future generations about the greatest game that ever was that no one will ever see, except for you few. Okay. So that's our demo. So now we can do something else, right?
Yeah, please
I'm gonna sit
have
in
a
this
seat.
chair.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Awesome.
That's actually
Thanks for running the demo. And thanks to the AV crew, the fabulous AV crew, and your staff here, because while you guys were waiting outside, we were running tape, and it was very
Yeah, it turns out it was totally worth it, so that was good. I mean, I found that incredibly useful and interesting. I think a lot of people, from the outside, they look at game design and they think that it's about coming up with the full vision of exactly how everything works and making a blueprint of it and then executing it. They don't understand that it is this iterative process of experimentation and trying things. So I think it's amazing to get a glimpse of that kind of like, and it's an interesting combination of super rough but some aspects of it were really well thought out and polished and I love how you're also exploring what I think of as being one of the interesting challenges of adventure game structure, which is like what is your relationship to the main character? You know what I mean? Like, are you supposed to be the main character? Sometimes the main character is like just a cursor that you're controlling, and sometimes it's meant to be a fully fleshed out character of its own with its own will. And
I think of it like as like you're in adventure games that you were the intuition of the character. So they would have this intuition, which was like, pick up this thing. So you always were doing a kind of a manipulative thing. You're making the character feel like they should pick up that object. And the character would justify it to himself, like, oh, I needed one of those. I was looking for one of these all day. Thank you. And like, kind of justify all the actions that you were forcing him to do.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the logic in The Sims, where the all the objects in the world are kind of broadcasting out to the character and saying, the TV is saying, oh, watch me, I'll help you.
But they're smart in The
relax.
Sims, and they don't make huge special case cutscenes for just one outcome of that story, right? It's all simulated very cleverly. Will thinks of everything.
Yeah,
So
he's a smart guy. All right, I want to take us back to the beginning of your career, and I want to find out a little bit about what it was like back at LucasArts when you first started out. What made you go there in the first place, and what was that scene like?
I really love the old LucasArts games, the first ones. It was called Lucasfilm Games. Like back in the early days, it was a Lucasfilm computer department, and my uncle was an electrician at the ranch when they were wiring it up. And he used to bring home these T-shirts that were just, I was like, what is that? What is this Star Wars? What is this doing? Like, because this was back in the early '80s, and like George Lucas, it was pre-Episode 1. George Lucas was really cool, and he's still a really really nice guy. And I look like him as I get older, so I'm trying to. Star Wars: The Ranch, and I still loved my Atari 800. And they had made really great games like Rescue and Fractalus and Ball Blazer and all these games that I loved. And so I just couldn't wait to find out what they were doing up there. And part of the Lucasfilm game division, he sold off and it became Pixar, right? And so then the rest of it kind of evolved into what became the games company. So the early, like Andre and Wally B, have you ever seen that short? I think that was made, might have been made at the ranch even, I think. I don't know, the early history, you have to ask someone even older than me. So there's a lot of excitement about it. And then I was studying computer science in college, and I didn't really know what I was going to do for a living at all. And I just wanted to be, I liked computers and games and programming, but I thought I was going to be a writer, like writing like short stories. Like Kurt Vonnegut wrote short stories, and then he worked at like GE or someone. He had an engineering job, and I was like, that's it, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get a job programming databases, and I'll write short stories at night. And then that was my plan. I was pretty depressed about it. And so then I went to the Career Center after like a summer of being rejected by Atari and HP and stuff. I saw this job listing at Lucasfilm Games for programmers who wanted to write. And I was like, this is interesting. And I called. I've told this story before, so sorry if you read that interview before, but I called and I did a phone interview where I totally blew it. And they're like, what of our games have you played? I named all the Rescue and Fractalus and stuff. And he's like, those are like 8 years ago. Like, I mean, have you played any of our games recently? And I was like, I've been in college. I haven't had time to play games. And then it was just dead silent on the phone. Like, oh, too busy to play games. Huh? So, but I really liked Ball Blaster. And he was like, well, Ball Blaster is what it was called when it was pirated, Tim. So, which was true. He's like, even back then there was piracy, believe it or not, and you just get a disc with like a bunch of Atari games on it, and I'd paid Ball Blaster, but I still really liked the game, and then so he's like, well, send us your resume and send us your a cover letter where you describe your ideal job, and I did this cover letter where I did it as a kind of graphic adventure. Like it was like you run a quest to find your ideal job, and I just had go to get Career Center, pick up resume, and there was some dumb art that I drew on my Atari 800, and so it was like a little adventure game, and I think that helped me get their attention at least and going for an interview. And then I was at Skywalker Ranch, which is beautiful, but it was kind of disappointing because I thought it was going to be like animatronic robots everywhere. Like I thought it was going to be like. I thought it was going to be like Epcot or something.
Yeah,
Westworld.
Westworld.
Like, Westworld, yeah. I thought it was going to be just like Westworld. And I'd be greeted by C-3PO at the as I walked in. And instead, it's this beautiful, tasteful Victorian and Craftsman-style architecture and stuff like that. But,
And were you doing programming when you first started there?
yeah, I was a scumlet, which
Okay.
is the lowest rung. And they had project leaders who would come up with the idea, like Monkey Island. Ron Gilbert was a project leader. And then we would come in and actually like wire it up in the Scum language, which they had invented there, which is the script creation utility for Maniac Mansion. And we were scumlets, and we'd program, but then, to implement stuff, you'd also write dialogue, and make jokes and put programmer art in there, and you could make the whole thing function all by yourself and put puzzles together. And then they started working on Ron's early ideas for Monkey Island that way. And then they were like, no, this is the dialogue. We're going to use this dialogue in the game. And I was like, you can't. This is terrible, stupid. This is, and you can see I'm still doing it today. The same. And that was an important lesson I think that I learned there, was to not self-censor yourself. Like, I mean, self-censor yourself. You know what I'm saying? Or critique yourself while you're talking in public. Try not to do that as well. So, but it was, you know, just like a lot of that dialogue in that prototype was like, it was really liberating to be doing this prototype where I felt like, you know, nothing, it's not going to be, it's not shipping, so I can just kind of write whatever I want. And that's a kind of a mental frame of mind, here I'm doing it again. It's a really valuable frame of mind to get into, of like not worrying about what people think when you're doing the writing, because that's when really crazy ideas come out.
Yeah. So you've worked on a lot of different kinds of games, and I'm just curious about whether you think of yourself as focusing on a particular aspect of game design as your main thing. Like, is it the writing? Is it puzzle design? Is it system design? Or is it kind of an overlap of? Or is it like, creative direction? Is it stepping back and having the whole thing come together?
I mean, definitely has changed recently as I've been, helping other people run projects. It's been more about like worrying about the problem of actually putting teams together and helping someone figure out how to run their own project, and that's a different kind of challenge. But previously, I just kind of backed into, because of that first job listing, figuring out like narrative-based situations. Like so the solutions that I've learned over the years have always been kind of like, let's solve it with a story. Like, so they have always been focused on the main character and putting him into a really strange world, and the idea of the games allowing you to explore crazy fantasy worlds, I think, is always a starting point for me with designing a game.
There's it's kind of like a grand problem, right? Narrative in game design, people often talk about it as this intractable problem, or this kind of holy grail, and yet in a lot of the games that you've done, it doesn't feel like that big a problem. It's like you managed to do it. Your games work as games. They also work as stories. Perhaps it's because of the humor and the way the humor works. But do you think about those issues? Do you think about in a theoretical sense, the big problem of interactivity and narrative and storytelling?
I do think about that all the time.
Yeah. Do you think it's as hard as people say, or do you think it's like?
Well, you have to, I feel like, I don't know if there's a solution to it besides having a really global approach to it, because the solution to any problem is, sometimes it's the writing, and sometimes it's the programming, and sometimes it's the art, and sometimes it's just the mechanic design. And it's really hard for any one discipline to solve every problem in a game. So one thing that helped for me was that I was a programming writer, like a writer who could program. Because when you're writing a dialogue in a game, it's interactive, and you have to figure out whether the person has seen a particular room before, if they're holding a certain object, if a million different game states have happened before, and you want to know if they write that kind of dialogue, and then you'll try and write all those that specific, back then it was a bunch of if-then statements, but just like really like, if they've talked to the captain but not the governor, and if they're full of poison and they do this, then say this line, otherwise. But then you try and think procedurally of how to simplify this, and like, wait, I could actually write a different line and then only check these things. So you're trying to solve a programming problem and a dialogue problem at the same time, and it's just really helpful to be able to like both write and program, because you never know. You often have to do both things to get something to work. Mm-hmm. If I could also do art, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I tend to agree that rather than thinking, oh, we need to find some huge breakthrough that is going to totally transform how we think about narrative and gameplay, it really is often, when you look at the things that do work, it's just hard work. It's like doing all the hard work of figuring out the details and the execution. And you mentioned Heavy Rain. Do you think that's a successful? You know what I mean? Like,
it's really interesting. It's a really interesting game to play, and it looked just hard. The whole time I was watching, I was like, oh my god, there's a lot of work in this. I didn't even know until after I watched it, and I watched all the other endings on YouTube, like how many things went into that game that you wouldn't see. And it's a different approach than I would usually take, because I tried to get away. Like, it's really tempting for me to write cutscenes just because it's fun to write, scenes. But trying to like move farther each time, to try and move a little bit. You're always trying to do more with. Tell the story with the environment, and tell the story with the verbs the character can use, and how do those gameplay verbs expose their character in a unique way. and how to have the reactions of the other characters and the state and the simulation tell the story, which is, I think, a more interesting challenge. And you can always write a scene or write some funny joke to tell it too, but you always try to pursue these crazier ways of telling a story, more game-centered ways.
Yeah. I am so in keeping with the my attempt to do this sort of inside the gamer studio thing. I've been studying James Lipton's techniques, and one of the things he does is he likes to be very complimentary. Like he'll say something extremely complimentary that leads to a sort of semi-question. I'm going to try that now with you because I have a theory. About one of the reasons that you are so beloved and such a hero and such an inspiration to so many people, to so many game designers, and it has to do with humor, like the fact that like to successfully craft a joke requires a certain kind of empathy, right? Because it's about social interaction and psychology and sort of like thinking about a situation in terms of the experience of the people, and those are not things that that games are particularly good at, right? Games are often made by people with a more kind of clinical or technical or engineering kind of mindset, and I think a hallmark of your work is it's like emotional warmth, and I think that's partly due to the fact that it comes across in the humor, right? Jokes are especially because you can have dramatic, like bombastic, emotional heaviness, like in Heavy Rain, but I think it's somehow the humor is even more kind of intimate because it requires this kind of empathy. So I don't know if you agree with that, but it's not even really a question. But what do you think of that?
Promised I was going to a question. Oh, there. What do I think of that? I mean, the humor question, which is similar to what you said. The humor question of like why aren't there funnier games comes up a lot, and like why aren't there more comedy games? And it's always hard for me to answer that because I am trying to do funny games, and so. She go ask the other people who are not doing funny games, like, why aren't you doing funnier games? And it's because no one's made one that's sold very much, so I think is why no one, that's, I think it's a very imitative industry, and like if someone did make a huge hit comedy thing, all of a sudden you'd see a bunch more horrible comedy games being made. Because I think comedy is like, it is, like I feel like bad action movies you can still kind of watch and say that was an action movie and it was still had action in it. Bad comedy movies are just unwatchable. They're just like oh gosh. They don't even fit the definition of the genre anymore. They're just like something that happened on screen. And so I think for that reason comedy is really scary because you don't it's scary.
Right.
It can be scary, but it's not that hard. They're funny people. Yeah. I mean, there are other like Eric Wolpaw, who worked on Psychonauts. He later went on to have a lot of success with Portal and stuff, and he was also a programmer too. So this is getting to my theory of how
it is true, and he talks about how he doesn't just write. So when he's working on Portal, he doesn't just write lines; he wires them in. So.
And that's key because it doesn't necessarily. You don't have to be a programmer as long as you had a tool that let you implement your own stuff and fix it if it didn't work, and maybe rewrite the line or maybe rewrite.
Yeah, but I know that he and Chet are actually putting those lines in and the triggers, and because for them it's like fractions of a second in the timing is sometimes key to whether a joke works. Or not.
I think that's true.
All right. So speaking of huge hits, let's talk about Kickstarter a little bit. And first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
It was I think a big
thank you to all the backers
thing, and thank you to everyone who. So I want to get your take on one aspect of this, which is that a lot of people. It was really groundbreaking, and it seemed to kind of like usher in potentially this new era, right? And a lot of people read it as a kind of a sort of a critique or a big wake-up call for traditional models of publisher-developer relationships, and kind of like sticking it to the middleman and a kind of revolutionary way of interpreting that. Is that how you see it?
You're just trying to cause trouble.
That was definitely part of the rhetoric around it. What's your take?
I've been asked that question. Is this an open declaration of war? But no, I think it is a great new way to make things happen that couldn't happen before, and I don't think it really takes things away from publishers. In that these are games. The games you could make, I think, with Kickstarter are often things that have a special story. Or by making them with Kickstarter, you can do different things. Like you don't have to answer to the same pressures that you would if you went with, say, corporate sponsorship or something. But I think for the most part, these games like, whether it's a brand new point-and-click adventure or Wasteland 2 or something like that, these are things that publishers had already passed on. So it's not like you're going in there and taking away a bunch of business from them that they yet.
Exactly.
I don't know how big it'll
It does
get.
kind of shift the scales of power a little bit, doesn't it?
I mean, I guess I kind of equate it to like Sundance or a film festival where when that changed the business a lot, but it didn't destroy Hollywood. It made Hollywood better. It made more diversity in the kind of movies getting made, the kind of actors that work, and they kind of bounce back and forth between both systems, and it made the whole art form richer, I think. And so I think that similar thing could happen in games. Right? Until we're ready to take them down. Then
Yet.
it's over.
And in terms of the adventure game project, is your approach with this going to be to try some radical new things and like kind of some of the stuff that we were looking at in the prototype, or are you looking to kind of embrace a classic model? Is this like you're going to really do a kind of golden age style classic, point and click animated adventure game, or have you gotten this far in the design process?
I mean, it's an interesting question of how with each of those old adventure games, we always did try to innovate on each game, and it would change. And Grim Fandango looks a lot different than Full Throttle, which is just the game before it, right? And so each game try to do something different. And so this is going to be interesting because really I feel like we should do that again and take the next step of what, if we had kept making those games, what they would look like now. But there's a thing where the people who paid for it, I think, also wanted this old thing. You don't know exactly what they want because, they want their memories of playing one of those older games when they're younger. So I think it has to be true to that and not be like we're going to add a whole bunch of first-person action to it or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it does. I think people still do like to be surprised by things, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I still think people like to see new, interesting ideas that enhance the experience they like.
I would be torn because if I was in your position, because it's true. I have a lot of love for those old classic point-and-click adventure games, and yet they were also, they were problematic too, right? There was a reason that those games kind of went away as a genre.
How dare you?
Eric Wolpaw talks about how they died by suicide, right? That and there was I think it has to do a lot with just puzzles as a core mechanic. Like puzzles are inherently kind of brittle, right? It's very hard to make a game built around a series of puzzles that doesn't end up having like accidental brick walls for people, or you know what I mean? Like so, I would be curious to know, whether you're gonna like tackle, try to bring like all of the thinking and evolution that you've done as a game designer and try to reinvent this, or just embrace the nostalgia and do something that
It is tricky because I feel like there's an obligation in some ways to the people who paid for the game to give. But I think that puzzle thing is an interesting question because we used to always try and sell more of these games back in the 90s. We were like, how can we make them appeal to more and more people? And we asked someone who did like playing adventure games, why do you like playing adventure games? And they're like, their answer was kind of like, just because it feels so good when I get that puzzle, when I solve it. Yeah. But it kind of felt like, Noah Falstein used to always say, it sounded like you're talking to someone you're asking, why are you banging your head against that wall? Because it feels so good when I stop.
Yeah.
Like
that's really, yeah.
And that's our
yeah.
market right there.
That is it.
And
Yeah.
that's that's always we've always wondered about that. We never really cracked that. Obviously, like is it people, just people who love to be stuck, and a lot of people who hate to be stuck. Mm-hmm. You're stuck in an adventure game. You're really, really stuck. Like there's nothing to do. You walk back and forth through the few rooms that you've explored and like listen to the same music over and over again, try all the same things you've already tried, and like, ugh. And then you find out the answer, and it's like this doorknob you didn't see, and you're like, oh, come on, this doorknob. But I don't know if that's inherent to the genre or just the difference between good adventure games and bad adventure games, or good puzzles. Like if you really design it well, I think that you can evoke a sort of good, happy confusion, the only example I can think of is like when we're sitting around dinner. My brother used to love to tell these like these riddles. Like there are these one-line riddles.
Conundrums.
There's one that started with like if he had seen the sawdust, he never would have pulled the trigger.
That's
Have you ever
right,
done one of
yeah,
those?
sure.
And then you can only ask yes or no questions. Like
you
did
always
he
have- yeah.
kill himself? And like yes. And like you get through this whole story, and this is the totally sideline example. But the main thing is I remember how exciting it was to be sitting at the dinner table. And one by one, people in the family would get it. They'd be like, I get it. Is it because of this? They go, yeah, and he would get it. And it would spread, and you didn't get it. And you're frustrated, but people were smiling like because you're like he'd be letting you know, the storytelling person would be letting you know, you're just about to get it. Like, have you thought about this? They give you a little nudge, like, no, you're almost right. And that was entertainment. Like, that act of being confused was entertaining because it was presented in a teasing sort of winking way. You know? It's winked, I'm not really good at winking, but like a winking way. And so confusion can be entertainment. And if it's not, if it's done well, and if it's done badly, it's just you're just stuck. You're like,
But it's so interesting because the situation you're describing, the game designer, if you will, is right there in the room, and they're reacting to you, and they see you, but then the nature of computer games and video games, really game design in general, is that you have this distance. You have to make this system that tries to do that, tries to do what your brother does.
That's what we try and do. That was our job. We'd sit there and be like, what are all the possible ways a person can try and solve this puzzle? And still then you play test it, and someone thinks of a whole new way. Like, why couldn't I just do this? And you're like, you're right, that's totally valid. And so or if it's wrong, but you don't have time to implement that solution because of art production, you could at least write a funny line that lets them know that the game designer knew that you would try that, which makes that kind of confusion kind of entertaining because it's just a reflection of the humanity of the people who made the game in a way, and I think leads to the human connection that's at the center of all art, I think, which is like, if only one kid in Nebraska staying up really late at night tries to get, and it's the only person who ever heard that line, but when they heard it, they had this feeling of like, it sounds weird, but like, I'm not alone in the world because someone else thought the way I thought, and that's the beautiful thing about those games to me. So that's why I think we put all that work into just making those, and sometimes we got it right, and sometimes we didn't, and I think we just try to get it right.
It's amazing. I want to ask you a little bit about Double Fine and what it's like to work there. It looks like an amazing place. The Kickstarter video, it just looked like such a wonderful, warm, awesome place full of talented people. And I'm just curious about so I will talk to people like Richard LaMarchand from Naughty Dog or Eric from Valve, and they talk about these. They kind of paint these beautiful pictures of very flat structures where it's like, oh yeah, we don't have titles, we're all just developers and we're all just sharing and collaborating, and it's this very flat structure, and it just sounds too good to be true. But is that what is it like at Double Fine? Is it a very flat structure? Is this big collaborative happy family, or do you run a tight ship over there? How's it?
That's a funny thing. I do get just little stories of what it's like to work at other companies, and I always hear those, and they do sound. It makes me always feel guilty for running Double Fine like a kind of benign dictatorship. Just like I just feel like you guys are just afraid to be in charge. Come on. No,
Well, I don't believe them. First of all.
No, I think it can work. I think any group of people, if you pull them together, they can have a successful group dynamic or not. And I feel like we've also changed over time. Like we started with just the games being my idea, and then I would collaborate with people, like Scott there in the audience or other people, to add more of their creative ideas to it, but I would still be guiding it to make sure it all came out as one whole vision. But then we have started these other projects that I'm not running and letting other people run them, but they're still running them kind of. A lot of them are still kind of run top down, and I think both systems can work. But I think in those flat situations, I've always had this feeling that someone really is in charge. They're just not saying it, but I shouldn't say because I don't work there, but I think it's just a little more flexible and less title-based. But there is someone who's really confident, and people tend to follow because they've had success in the past, and that's a different sort of invisible hierarchy or meritocracy. But I still think someone is because a lot of people do not want to be in charge. They just don't want to pick where to go to lunch every day, and you have 5 of those people in a room. They just never go to lunch till 3 o'clock because they're like, where do you want to go? And some people don't. Not everybody want. But a lot of people want to just you figured that out, and I want to just draw all day, or I want to do the thing I'm good at all day long, and you figure out how it plugs into this other thing, and those people tend to follow somebody, even if there's not a title-based top-down hierarchy.
I love that answer. That's very honest, and I find it weirdly comforting somehow.
That's my management style. Weirdly comforting, hand on knee.
Here's my resume.
Like the cut of your jib, like a back rub you didn't ask for.
HR. So, okay, I want to ask you your take on just the contemporary game industry. Are you an optimist? Are you a pessimist? Some people are like down on it. Oh, it sucks and it's terrible. And some people are. I tend to be a real optimist, and I think things are kind of amazing now. And what's your overall take? Are there things about it that you hate or are you down on, or in general?
I mean, there are definitely a lot of things that are frustrating about the games
Like
industry,
what?
but they're all over now. Didn't you see our Kickstarter? I mean, the process of I went to when you're doing something creative in a commercial environment, there's always this trying to keep yourself in a really happy and open place so you can have ideas, and then trying to wrap a shield around them as you fight them through the process of all the forces that are anti-creative that come to play, like risk mitigation and all the things that a commercial investor might demand of you. Like, hey, you want to do this unproven thing, why should I put millions of dollars in there? And then all the meetings and all the focus tests and all the things that can really crush the spirit, I think, of someone. And a lot of people have had really bad experiences in the games industry because of also some of the factory produced big, huge games with insane crunch modes, and you've all heard stories about those kind of rebellions that have started. And the industry is maturing and getting better in a lot of those ways, but not everywhere and not quickly. But there's also tons of things. I mean, just tons of things that are amazing and starting up all the time. And a lot of the indie games and the indie game community have just doing things for themselves. And they're just like, who funded your game? Like, we funded our game. We just started it, and they made tons of money, and it's super creative. And it's there's just a lot of stories like that out there. And mobile gaming, people, the barrier that's dropped down that allows just anybody to make an iPhone game and things like that just are allowing a lot of people to have access to just producing a game and sharing it with their friends. And so there's just tons of opportunity, and there are whole engines out there you can download for free to make your game in if you don't know how to program at all, and you can just put something together based on just your ideas. And there are those crazy funding models that are coming out that are allowing supposedly niche markets to get organized and make things happen.
What's your personal taste as a gamer? What do you play for fun? What do you play for pleasure?
I try to play everything, and
but that's kind of your job, right? I mean,
it is a job. I really
when it's your turn to pick just for you.
I am just
where
the
do you go?
opposite of when I did that phone interview with Lucas, and I was like, I'm in college, I don't have time to play games. I now understand that disdain that my interviewer had for me at that moment, because people in the game industry now, when they talk about not having time to play games, I feel like you just don't have time to be in the games industry because you're just not. I mean, you really have to play them. And people in the press don't feel sorry for me at all because they're like, we have to play. You know how many games we have to play? God, baby. So try to play games, but I really like. It's strange because they're nothing like the games I make, but I really like really wacky Japanese game. I mean, I really like Katamari Damacy and Loco Roco and Animal Crossing and Okami and the things out of the Team Ico. And for some reason, I always gravitate to those games just because a lot of them are really atmospheric, or they're really emotion based, or just I mean, the things that the King of All Cosmos says are just so crazy, and how did that get through committee? I think that was really inspiring to me, because I felt like, okay, maybe that just got made because he just made it really cheap. That's the secret. You make things really cheap. You just sail under the radar, and that does happen. I mean, that prototype was sailing under the radar because it was pretty cheap. Yeah.
I want to ask you. We're going to turn it over to the audience in a second and get some Q&A, but. I want to ask you one last question, which is...
so think of your questions now, because when it
thinking
ends,
awesome
and he
questions.
says, is there any questions, and no one raised their hands, I'm going to just get under the table and cry.
Are you aware that there is a Psychonauts speed running community? People who speed run Psychonauts?
I saw... You mentioned something in you're going to ask me to give tips to... I was like, surely that's a joke.
No, it's true. So my son...
Why don't I know about it? Oh, it started by your son.
My son, who is graduating from college this year, is a huge fan, loves Psychonauts. I think it's probably his favorite game of all time. And he's also a serious competitive gamer. And he discovered that there are people who speedrun it, and now he's speedrunning. And I think his best time is a minute off of the world record, which is I think just under an hour to complete that game. And he showed me over the spring break. He showed me his run. And it was remarkable. It was amazing. So I wanted you to know about that, because it's actually quite beautiful. And if you can look it up and check out some of the videos, I think that it's a particularly good game to speedrun. It's the world that you built and the systems that you built allow for a lot of creative exploration. People are discovering tricks and ways of navigating around that you might never have imagined. And it really holds up.
The beauty of it is not just watching people skip all the cutscenes, right?
No, it's actually watching them discover things about those spaces, right?
That's
it's
crazy.
Like, and in a weird way, it makes them feel more real. Like the campground feels more real when people are like exploring every inch of it to discover where you can go, and you slide down the banister.
Finish the game. They actually collect everything too.
Well, they collect what they need to get through the game. So they still need to harvest certain resources. So they're still getting figments.
Has anyone in this room done that?
Has anyone speedrun?
What's your speedrun record? Anyone?
Psychonauts?
Anyone? No.
But I
I knew you were making it up.
urge no, check it out. I swear to God.
I gotta check that out.
And it's quite beautiful. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to our audience for some Q&A. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank goodness.
Yes, right here. Why don't we start here?
A little while ago, several months ago, you tweeted about playing, I believe it was a move game with your daughter, where it was something involving a lion, and she brought out a brush to help you brush a lion in this game.
Oh yeah.
And then a few months after that, you came out with Double Fine Happy Action Theater, and you came out with the Sesame Street game as well. How has having a kid of your own impacted the way that you view games and game design in your role in this medium?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely think about it because I'm trying to play games. I don't know if you guys probably don't have a lot of kids being in college, but if you try to play, try and play with my 2-year-old daughter, and I wanted to share this with her. I love games, and I wanted to share it with her, and just watching her try to figure out what a shoulder button is. Like she can't even reach with the thumbsticks with her little adorable hands when they're on it. But we were playing Connectables, and we can brush the animals in there. But then she ran out of the room. She came back with a little brush because she wanted to brush them. I was like, almost cried because it's like so cute. But I saw her like trying to navigate the Connect tuner and like sign in what memory unit you want to use, and I was just like, it almost made me mad. I was like, why can't this Connect is so cool in a lot of ways because it can just sense people in the room. Like, why can't she play a game? She's only 2.5. And so that was really the genesis of the idea for the Happy Action Theater, was to make something so simple and really stupid. I mean, it's really fun. And it's like, let's have like no game, no rules, no nothing, no instructions, no tutorial. And so it just starts up, and then it just starts reacting to you. And so you can play it with a bunch of little kids. But so it definitely inspired me to make that game in particular and to test it. Have a it's always good to have a like Kurt Vonnegut, I bring him up all the time, but like have him like, he used to talk about picking one person to write every book for, like it was his wife, or so instead of worrying about what everybody thinks about what you're doing, just pick one person and try and make a game for them. And so it was great to have like a target market that was just lived in my house, and I could not listen to her if I didn't like her ideas, No, but just like I could just tell if she liked it. I mean, just when I brought her in the office to see Once Upon a Monster, and there was Marco the monster on the screen, and I waved at him, and she started laughing and waving at him. Like I felt like you could feel like there was a lot of power in that idea. And so, yeah, it definitely makes me want to, make games for her too, for example.
Yes.
For a lot of gamers and private game retailers, pre-order bonuses are a great source of disdain.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that?
You just try and get a love giver code out of me. I have some codes. Is that what? No, sorry. That's my one experience with that. Yeah, I've experienced that in that publishers are very concerned about used game sales. I think is where a lot of this comes from. Is that, or piracy too? I guess that they want to provide. I think this is what you're talking about, where they provide something you can only get if you buy the game new at a store. And it is frustrating for people. I'm trying to think of something really smart and clever to say about it, because I've tried to mostly avoid it. It sounds, you really want the game to live on its own and to survive that initial retail experience and still be intact, right? So I have kind of tried to avoid those things. I mean, I feel like so many things are changing in the way, people want to hang on to a traditional method of distributing games and stuff, but it's obviously going to go away or change a lot, right, with digital distribution. So I don't know if I answer that at all, but you just see a lot of. I've seen a lot of things with like, not to bring up SOPA, but like there's definitely a lot of work being done trying to hang on to making money in the traditional way, and I think like we did just go out and get over $3 million just for asking for it, right? And the same people who like they're doing all these methods to keep people from stealing stuff just gave us a bunch of money, right? And so I think there's Or look at other examples like the Humble Indie Bundle. If you've ever seen that, these people just like letting you pick the price you pay for the like the Little Rascals when they put on a play. It's a reference for people really old, but like. You go to a play when you see the Little Rascals, and you decide how much to pay based on how much you liked it. So, like in that Humble Indie Bundle, you can pick how much goes to developer, how much goes to Humble Indie Bundle, how much goes to charity, and how much you pay overall. And people, they could pay just $1, and some people do, but most of the people pay. A lot of people pay over what they're required to pay or suggested donations. So. I've just seen example after example of people making money by giving stuff away for free. So it feels like a more modern approach to business when I've seen with that a lot of the indie game pioneers have done by giving things away, actually end up making more money instead of just trying to like hang on to like a Skeksis. This is like a little Skeksis imitation. Hang on to like a kind of antiquated way of making money. But they can't hang on forever. It's gonna change, right? I hope that came
Why
somewhere
don't
close
we,
to.
in the back, right, I'm looking at you, yes, with the blonde hair.
What?
You have your hand up? No, yes?
No.
Anyone? Okay,
I thought it was a Let It
Sure.
Be guy. Hey, Let It Be.
right, yes, the person pointing to themselves, yes.
He's got dark hair.
My question is, basically, as someone who's trying to maybe hopefully one day break into the world of screenwriting and maybe one day write for a video game, just how different is that whole process of setting out, getting in the writer's room, setting out the process of, coming up with a story for a video game like such as maybe Psychonauts or maybe like video, there's a lot of different kinds of video game stories like Mass Effect or Call of Duty, obviously that whole process of coming up with a story, those types of games is very different. So just wondering if you could go through
So, like, how different are the process of writing games versus like linear movies? Well, I've never actually written a screenplay or written a play, so I don't know exactly how different it is. But a lot of it is similar, and like sometimes they're written like it's fun to write in groups. Sometimes some people like to do that. So there is still like a writing room up at Valve. Like you said, Chet and Eric and Jay have this little writing room mentality, and they write stuff. And the basics of screenwriting, I think anyone who's writing for games should know. I mean, just reading that Sid Field screenplay book it's much shorter than that thicker one that the other guy, the story one. Read the thin one. It's really everything you need to know about the 3-act structure. And that stuff is really invaluable. And just structuring a good story is really, really important. But I think, like we were saying earlier about the best writers for games needing to have some implementation ability, I think that is the key. Because I think in the games industry, they have tried. It was big for a while to get like a Hollywood writer. They would be like, we got the guy who worked on the second version of this movie and whatever, and to come write all these cutscenes. So you get all this like gritty, realistic dialogue that all has to be cut because the cutscenes are too long. And so you really, if someone from the outside who doesn't really know how games work will always write some clunky stuff that doesn't end up shipping. And so really, really understanding games and being able to make them yourself is critical to writing in games. So I think that's different. Basically, I'm just saying screenwriting is much easier than game writing. Yeah. Let's face it. Yeah, come on, but no.
Do you guys have a room at Double Fine? Do you ever jam on writing stuff, or sitting together and throwing out lines, or do you bring in stuff and share it more?
And sometimes it works different ways. Like on Costume Quest, the other writer Elliot and I would trade, back and forth via email or something like that, or we talk about the overall story with Tasha, or someone's running the project, and we would brainstorm together. Eric and I would sit in a room together and stuff. But the act of writing often, for me, was all very private, like solo activity where I can't even, I have to put headphones on and listen to some album that I had in high school, so I don't really pay attention to it. Just like different on different games. In Grim Fandango, I was listening to this one Motorhead album over and over and over again.
Nice.
This doesn't make any sense at all to anybody, but it's loud and it keeps you awake when it's 3 a.m. and you've heard it so many times you just don't even listen to it at all, and you can't tell there's someone banging on your door trying to get in. But yeah, what were we talking about?
Okay, right in the middle, the brown shirt with the blue thing on it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Your games are kind of known to innovate both in sort of environment and feel, but also in mechanics. I'm wondering what order that goes in. Do you find a mechanic that you think would be fun, and then you build sort of the environment story around it? Or do you say to yourself, I want to do a game about kids at a psychic summer camp, and I'm going to create mechanics that will be fun in that environment?
It's kind of different in every game. Like in Psychonauts, a lot of things kind of converge together. So I was, getting really interested in console games and games that like Super Mario 3D and Ocarina of Time, and playing those and wanting to tell a kind of adventure game story in that setting more. And so I don't know if that counts as coming up with a mechanic first, but that was definitely the kind of game I knew I wanted to make as we were pulling together the ideas of jumping into people's brains. And with the adventure games, we always knew what the mechanic was before we started, so that doesn't really fit. Like Brütal Legend there was a separate story idea about a roadie going back in time, and then I always wanted to make an RTS game that featured Big Daddy Roth demons and hot rods and stuff. And so at some point, those just kind of like banged into each other and became the same game. And so
What about stacking? Did that start as a mechanical idea?
So Lee Petty came up with that in Amnesia Fortnight, and at first it was, he was going to do a game about characters that wore masks, and they had different abilities based on the mask they're wearing, and maybe it was going to have combat. But because Amnesia Fortnight is so short, and we only had 2 weeks to do it, he's like, I can't do a combat system. It's like, maybe it's just going to be an adventure game. We'll just walk around, and there's no combat, but you jump into all these Russian nesting dolls, and you take on the persona of the outermost doll. And so he totally came up with that one himself. So the mechanic just kind of came, in some ways, out of the timeline, the production schedule, and stuff like that. So it's different. It's different every time. There's no one answer for that one. I like that you have to pick, because it's always hard to pick.
Okay.
Got to pick the guy in the Whispering Rock shirt at least once. That guy right there. Come on, one time.
Yes.
Next time we'll do that.
Thank you.
He brought a code wheel. Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of.
So just to repeat the question for the camera,
totally repeat that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, here, watch.
Please repeat.
How do we choose which Amnesia Fortnight project we do afterwards?
Thank you.
It's an interesting problem because we're trying to solve a lot of different things in our company, particularly for Amnesia Fortnight, which is it tests an idea, but also tests a person, like can they run a project, because it's like a sink or swim situation. And sometimes the game ends up much cooler than we thought it was going to be going into it, and sometimes it kind of falls apart. And sometimes it's cool, but it's just nothing we could turn into anything that we could either pitch to a publisher or sell. It's like a cool tech demo. Sometimes we end up with something like, wow, we had one that was a really cool augmented reality demo, but it was like we weren't working in that particular, we just couldn't figure out what to do with it. And some of the games just didn't work out. Like they tried to bite off too much, and they couldn't get it polished in time, because that was a really important thing. When you have 2 weeks, you can only redo like one game mechanic. You just pick one thing. And that taught us a whole bunch of things about discipline and game design, instead of like trying to do every single mechanic that we thought would be fun. It was just do one thing and use that in interesting ways. But mostly it was like at the end of it, after 2 weeks, some of the projects were just like, you could see the potential in them. They were just fun. They were just, wow, we could almost ship this. I think people would want to, play this. And then some of them just turn out crazy with the guy in a bikini and a hat, and you're just like, what the hell are we going to do with this? Yeah. Wait, now can we do the code wheel guy over here?
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Code Wheel.
Code wheel guy.
Thanks for show your code wheel. I'm just excited about this because he brought one of the original Monkey Island code wheels. And there it is. And we had a night, LucasArts committed to delivering a bunch of them one night, and they didn't know that the shop that made them were all shutting down, for a holiday, and so they couldn't fill the order. So they decided it was a morale event. Like, hey team, we're all gonna go down to this factory and do some shrink wrapping. And so we're like, and we thought that was really fun. We were in our 20s. We're like, shrink wrapping, what's that? I've always wondered how we do this. So all the programmers and artists and everyone who worked on Monkey Island went down there, and we stuffed all the boxes and put the pamphlets in, and the old copied adventure, and then we put it through the shrink wrapping machine and used the hairdryer. I worked in a record store for a while and got really good at shrink wrapping.
It's like Foxconn.
It's exactly like Foxconn. But at one point I was manning the rivet machine. I was riveting a bunch of the Monkey Island code wheels together. So it's probably handcrafted by me.
And for those who don't know, it's a primitive anti-software piracy device.
Yeah, it's the original SOPA right there on a wheel. And it was super fun though, because you get this. Yeah, you saw an image of a mixed match pirate on the screen, and then you had to dial in the pirate.
It wasn't super fun.
It was totally fun.
It wasn't that much fun.
It was super fun.
I never took that apart and photocopied it for my friend.
Okay, so next question.
Let me just say they've come up with worse copy protection sets.
Sorry, go ahead.
With the overwhelming success of the Kickstarter campaign, did you guys ever have a moment where you're like, oh crap, we got to come up with a lot more stuff? Kind of the opposite effect of it just was so oh, what?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprisingly, it's not that stressful to get a whole bunch of money all of a sudden. It's like, I don't know if I can describe it. It's kind of relaxing. I think if you've been in business for a long time, they're like, oh, there's so much money in the bank account. It's like the kind of stress I've been looking for my whole life. So it was, but a lot of people have asked, like, is there a lot of pressure? There was like even a parody skit where the internet came to visit me in my office wearing a T-shirt that said the internet, and it was like threatening me. And but it hasn't really felt that way because it just felt like the whole thing was just so much, just all the backing just felt like such a big wave of goodwill and support, and it was very like emotionally it was a big happy moment at the company. And I was actually terrified of making a game for just like $200,000. Like, can we do that anymore? Like, do we even know how to? What would it just like it'd be over before it started the way And so getting once we got into the budgets that equal and surpassed Stacking and Costume Quest with the budget, I was like, this is awesome now because we can make a great game. And so I guess that was never really stressful because we always wanted to make a great game, but now we don't have to worry about how the heck we're going to make it with like 3 people for 6 months. We can actually put a real team on it and have a whole year to make it, at least.
You pick somebody.
Me? Right in front of me. Hello there.
Yay, sweetness. First of all, you're a funny dude.
Thank you.
That is frighteningly awesome.
That's awesome.
Secondly, as a funny dude who makes games and writes, how exactly do you balance the 3 in terms of narrative, game structure, and like cinematic? Like, how do you have a joke that you don't beat into the ground to the point that Peter's like, stop beating that dead horse or I swear I will come at you?
How do you make games funny? And the 3, what were the 3?
Like
Narrative,
the narrative working,
gameplay.
working, and not having a cinematic like that.
Yeah. I mean, that is an interesting question. I mean, because often the humor comes just because you have to solve a problem usually. You're just like, this character has to like, I mean, one of the hardest ones, like in Monkey Island, I had to write the love scene. Like, Guybrush and Elaine meet on the bridge, and they have to fall in love in like 5 lines because they've really just met. And it's a totally ridiculous scene that I'm like, how do I write this? So it's just like they say the word punky doodle is involved. And it's just like, but it was not like, hey, I like coming at it like, let's make something funny. It was just like humor as a tool to like cover up the fact that this is not a solvable problem. Like I don't know. You can't write a serious scene that has a pirate and a governor fall in love in 3 lines, right? But you can write a funny scene that solves that because you use the ridiculousness of the situation. What else are you going to say but something ridiculous? Like anytime you can jump on someone else's head, if the game is not funny, you're missing something. Because like you see someone standing on someone else's head, if you don't have anything funny to say about it, the player all of a sudden realizes the whole thing's fake. So it's like, just there's so many funny situations in games that like in Zelda, you go into someone's house and you can smash every pot in their house, and they don't even say anything about that. It's like it feels like they should comment on the fact that you just destroyed their house.
That's so insightful because I think a lot of people, going back to this issue of the tension between, a lot of people think solving that problem means papering over that gap, papering over that tension, but you're embracing it. The humor is about embracing that tension and letting it be a gap and not trying to close the gap, but just like that, getting power out of that gap. I think that's actually quite amazing. Yes, there, in the beard and the glasses.
Do you find, I feel like some of the newer games have been sort of, the downloadable stuff has been sort of a more compact idea, or, do you find like certain games lend themselves more to sort of a shorter experience, and is that freeing, or does that change how you approach it?
You can repeat that one. Do you want to repeat that one?
Oh,
okay.
I wasn't listening. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Are you making dinner plans over there?
My one shot.
That's what he asked. He asked, what is Frank doing on his phone? So,
I got a text message, I'm sorry.
Or do some ideas lend themselves to smaller games, or is it liberating? Or I mean, the size of the games that we did in Amnesia Fortnight, it did teach us to be disciplined about, like a lot of the best games are based on one, like Katamari, like I was mentioning, there's just one mechanic in that whole game, basically, and then you're just putting that mechanic in different situations and maybe elaborating on it here and there, but it was freeing. But when we finished the prototype, we did feel like, I don't know if we could make a 40-hour experience out of this, but it would be great to make a 4 or 5, 6 hour experience out of it and have it be downloadable. So And then instead of worrying about making that thing this big mountain, just make a perfect small little thing and then move on, which is just it was very liberating for us.
Yeah. Right, in the glasses and the long hair. Yes, you.
How much do you let other people edit your ideas during the creative process?
Let's see. How often do I let other people edit my ideas? What kind of person did you have in mind? Like another writer, or?
The people you work with, or just anyone you're bouncing the ideas off?
Yeah, I mean, it is great to get. I mean, feedback is really important, and I've never worked with someone who was really called an editor. I mean, just even those Kickstarter videos that we did, we'd often just goof off and do a bunch of stuff in front of the camera and let the people making the film pick, which is the best take or which is the best work. And that can be kind of fun because you have to just worry about creating a whole bunch of stuff and let someone else worry about which of it is actually good or usable. Sometimes with other games, when I've worked on someone else's game, like the Costume Quest or something where someone else is running it, I'll just write a bunch of stuff and be like, here, these are some ideas you can pick from them if you want, or and that's fine because it's someone else's. It's someone else's work, and I'm just trying to help them by coming up with a bunch of ideas for them, and then they're doing the editing. But I do need a lot of proofreading, that's for sure. I'm terrible with spelling.
You mentioned earlier something about Mass Effect, I think.
Oh, you're not going to pull me into this thing.
Want to do a rewrite?
You're not going to pull me into this whole ME3 thing. Okay, go ahead.
Well, your opinion on the, I haven't beaten it yet, haven't played it yet, so no spoilers. But the third, everyone's hating on the endings because they're sad.
Wait, the third game ends? Wait a second.
What's your opinion on player expectation versus auteur control? The creative influence of the creator versus what the fans want.
Yeah, Mass Effect 3. What I think about that whole thing? I'm still trying to beat Mass Effect 2. First of all, I need to say that.
Mass Effect, just your opinion on should the fans really be saying we demand to make a new ending, when it's not they're not the ones who made it.
Well, so can the fans demand a new ending if they're not the ones who made it? It's hard to say because I've been avoiding finding out what that actual ending is that is making everyone so mad because I don't know exactly. Is it just it's not the ending they wanted, or did someone actually? Is it something devious that happened that was actually not giving them what they deserved? It's hard to give an opinion on that, but I suspect that BioWare is a upstanding company, and I would assume they'd make this. It would be a hard trilogy to end. I'm getting pulled into this. You're making me okay. Yeah. I guess I would give them the benefit of the doubt that they made something that was probably really good, and maybe it wasn't the thing some people wanted. But for all the vocal people, I mean, does it represent the majority of people? Because the internet gives a megaphone to sometimes just really, really. Sometimes it's does everyone hate this, or is it just a few really grumpy people?
I don't know. It's not that new. I mean, Arthur Conan Doyle had to bend to the fan pressure to bring Sherlock Holmes back after he killed him. So it's this kind of thing that's actually been.
And we're going to get into it with this whole Kickstarter, this adventure game, because we're letting the fans watch the process of making it. And I'm wondering what's going to happen if I go, okay, you guys, it's month 2, and here's my idea for the game. I'll be like, no, make another game. I don't like that game. That was I'll be like, what? It's going to be, that could be horrible, right? So that's going to be part of our challenge, is try to make people feel like they want the thing that we're making for them. But I guess I have been kind of an advocate of some form of, I've always kind of end up defending the author, because games, there is a lot of talk, and it might be just semantic, but why should I play the game the way the designer wanted me to? I'm going to play it my way. And there's a lot of games that believe in that, and I do believe in it too. But I think the games aren't made by an anonymous robot; they're made by people, and the people have a point of view on the world, and that's interesting. And connecting with that person is, like I said, something that makes art real to me. So I still feel like someone who wrote something made decisions as long as they made them for the right decisions. That is more important, even if that's something you didn't end up liking.
I really think you should redo the game of Monkey Island.
Exactly. See, exactly.
The blue shirt?
You showed us the prototype. You mentioned that it took a long time. And I was just wondering what a long time is for a group of people at Double Fine versus a Split.
I'm trying to think. Like, I don't actually remember how long that took. I mean, it was like we had lead programmer, we had an animator, we had people modeling and texturing things, and that was all different people. And then we had some audio work on that, and obviously a lot of writing. Obviously, most of the company was writing on that. No, and it was. And the whole thing, I want to say it was somewhere around 6 months for like both those prototypes, but I could be totally wrong. And everyone back home, if they hear about this, will be like, "Oh, he's so senile." But I have to go look it up. I forget how long everything takes on it because it felt like a long time. Just because, I mean, just 3D doing stuff in 3D just takes a lot more time than people think because it's like, oh, it's just all those models and rigs and textures and stuff. It's a time-consuming process, which is why we're making a 2D game. Woo!
So I think we have time for just one or two more, and I'm going to go to all the way to the back. And
when I first played Grim Fandango, it was before it got re-released on GOG and Steam and everything, and it was kind of like I had to go to a used media outlet, get it, and then try to force XP to run it and not crash. So I was wondering, at Double Fine now, do you think about preserving your games as something that can be played 10, 20 years?
Do we think about preserving our games in a Martin Scorsese-like? We try, and now we've been able to. Now that we have a company and it's going for a while, hopefully longer. I mean, like we try and drag some of it into the current. Now that we actually have shipped PC products, we're supporting those. So as long as we're around, we're trying to keep those things patched and running. It's really harder with the really, really, really old games. But the amazing thing is, I feel like it's something that we've always. Just the fans seem better at it than we do. Like there's always like abandonware or just games that don't run anymore. Like there's that amazing like Scum VM. If you've ever seen that, it's like a whole group of people, international I might add, came together over the internet and figured out a way to make old Scum games run on modern computers, and they keep that running, and they keep expanding the number of games that it works with. And there's another group. There's another thing called Residual, which is picking up all the residual games like Grim Fandango and making those run. And those, I'm always amazed by the products, what those people are able to do, because they don't have the source code, they don't have anything, they just reverse engineer the games. And I did see like people have gotten, well, I've heard it just amazing. People have gotten those games to run on crazy devices all over. And so I think I've always kind of felt like that there's someone out there that will just. I've always been impressed by what the fans have been able to do in that area. Yeah.
Yes. How about right there in the light blue shirt and the jacket? Yes.
I was just wondering, going back to Amnesia Fortnight, I'm not sure when you were planning on doing another one again, but would you ever consider maybe sort of the way you're making the Double Fine adventure process more transparent, maybe making that just sort of an internal game jam a more open experience where obviously there's a lot of indie game jams that go on. Would you ever consider sort of opening your doors in that respect and maybe bringing people on to sort of participate in your ideas, or maybe outside Double Fine, or would you want it to remain purely internal Double Fine idea generating experience?
I mean, it could be cool to bring people into the Amnesia Fortnight process from outside the company in the same way like you're saying that we are with the adventure game. It's a little tricky. The only tricky thing about Amnesia Fortnight is that a lot of the games that we never made, there's still a couple that I feel like we could still ship. And so it's like, if that was publicly known and people were talking about the game and asking about it, like I do like that we have some secrecy on the prototype so that we can, bring them out over time when we have an opportunity to make one of the games. So that's the only tricky part to it. But you could do a special Amnesia Fortnight, which was more like a game jam. One of our programmers actually started this. A game jam based on the tweets of Peter Molyneux. Have you seen that? Oh. And I thought she was kidding when Anna came up with that, and then all of a sudden it's like happening in like 8 cities. It's like bigger than Occupy Wall Street. It's huge.
Let's do one more. Does someone have a really good question to?
They're only good, really good ones, you guys.
Okay. The person being pointed at. Yes. Well, if you suck, we'll go to one more.
So wrap it all up.
Don't worry too much.
One question that embodies all the thoughts discussed here in one evening.
I'm curious about how you run Amnesia Fortnight. How do you best facilitate creativity? Do like an overall guidance? Do you let people step out of their normal everyday roles, like a programmer can do art and maybe human resources can do programming?
Yeah, no, that is a thing. We try and how do we run Amnesia Fortnight? Part of it is people trying new roles. Besides the person leading the project is trying to do something new, like a leader project, and that's the new thing. But we had, because we split it up, we didn't have enough like concept artists to go around. And so some of the projects, modeler got to do concept art, but it's something that they secretly wanted to do anyway. So people did get to push, because it's just 2 weeks. We can try all different kinds, be a lot more experimental with what people are doing. So people tried different roles. And yeah, and that we don't have, in our company, our overhead, which is like me and admin and business development and stuff, they don't participate in the Amnesia Fortnight, mostly because it's like their teacher week. They get to like catch up finally on all the work that we get to do while everybody else is working on these projects. But at some companies, I've heard like LucasArts actually now does this thing called Dreaming, or they did a couple presidents ago, where they would do the same thing, but it was just for 1 week, which I don't think is enough time. But like they would do it for 1 week, and they would bring finance would come in, like everybody got to work on a team. But that's great. I think that's an awesome part of it for sure. But we mostly had the regular development team try stuff. And the other question was the fostering the creativity. It really is self-organized. We just put those people in charge of those teams. We let them. They would pick who they wanted on their team, and then everyone on the company got to pick what team they wanted to work on. And then I just made this big Excel document that gave them choices, and then I just picked, when no one was looking, where they went. And then really let the people running those projects, they were just had to figure it out and organize their own team. Because it's kind of what we're testing is like, can this person take an idea and then motivate a whole bunch of people to actually work on it? So we just let them go, and I take the 2 weeks off. I just wander around. It's really fun because I just wander around the building and no one's waiting for me to do anything. And I just like, I don't have to, there's no one, I'm not late on anything. I just get to walk around and like point at stuff and. That's great. That's funny. No, sorry.
All right, well, that was a great question. I think we're going to end it there. I enjoyed this so much. I learned so much. Thank you for being on Inside the Gamer Studio. You are a
Thank
treasure.
you, James Lipton.
Please, Tim Schafer, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming.
It's amazing.
I'm going to take a picture of you clapping. Wait, one more time.
Yeah, clap. Give it up, come on. Give it up for Tim Schafer right here. Yeah.
Hold on. Fucking iPhone. Yeah. Okay, now I got it. Yes.
He still hasn't done it. It's like
I'm just milking it now. Thank you, everybody.